Hi everyone, and welcome to this week's edition of Flyer Nation. I'm your host, Lauren Brennan. Last week, I got the chance to sit down with first-year head coach of Lewis's women's basketball team, Kristen Gillespie, and head cross-country coach, James Kearney. Coach Gillespie gave us a look into her team's status in the preseason, while Coach Kearney told us how his runners are doing in the postseason. Moving on into this week, we'll be talking with Laura Lee Smith, head coach of Lewis's women's volleyball team, as well as Brett Bridell, head coach for Lewis's women's and men's tennis team. Coach Smith will be giving us a look into the dominating 23-3 Flyers last stretch of the season. We'll also discuss how they are preparing for the postseason, entering the GLVC conference tournament later this month. We'll also be hearing from Coach Bridell on how he is prepping his tennis players for their upcoming spring season and how he is getting a feel for this year's teams. We'll take a short break and then we'll be right back.
Don't let E. coli mosh with your food. An estimated 3,000 Americans die from a foodborne illness each year. You can't see these microbes, but they might be there. So always separate raw meat from vegetables. Keep your family safe at foodsafety.gov.
Enroll, we say. We want you to be okay. Enroll, we say. Take care, people, for goodness sake. There's a plan for every budget, so don't accept defeat.
Now you can get covered and still buy me treats.
You take care of your pets. Now it's their turn to take care of you. Visit getcoveredamerica.org to learn about your health insurance options.
Welcome back to Flyer Nation. Joining me now is head coach of Lewis's women's volleyball team, Coach Laura Lee Smith. How are you doing today, Coach?
I'm good, thank you.
Good. So the team graduated some major players from last season, but you're now ranked number 18th in the nation. What has been important to maintain success this season?
Just keeping this team all on the same page. Whatever six are out on the court, making sure they all both understand the defense and the offense that we run. It's nothing crazy tricky, but if one person's off, then we lose points.
Right. Both setters, Abby Becker and McKenna Pearson, are both freshmen. How have they improved as their season has progressed?
I think both of them have gotten more consistent, and when you're a setter, if you're consistent, then the hitters know they can rely on you. But both of them, on top of that, have become more intelligent. They have the ability to break down what the other team maybe doesn't defend well, and then they'll run that particular offense.
Cool. Senior right side hitter Alexis DeVito is one of the best players in the league. What does she bring to your team?
She's always had this fire about her. She steps out on the court playing to win, and she wants to get kills, and she's going to work extremely hard. And the more intense the match, the more energy and excitement she brings. And I just think it's really hard to find players like that.
Oh yeah, she's awesome. Junior libero Nicole Udy has proven to be one of the best in the GLVC at the libero position this season. What has made her successful this season?
Nick takes great pride in every single time she touches the ball, whether it's serving, passing, or defense. She's not somebody that just tries to get the ball up. She wants it up to a specific target, and that's both practice and in matches. And when you have that attitude, I think you become one of those players that is really hard to take off the floor.
Well, with more than 20 wins on the season, which games have stood out to you the most as highlights?
Well, not to be negative, but the three that we lost, obviously, because you can learn the most from those. How did the other team score on us, that type of thing. So right now, those are the three that stick in my mind the most.
Well, the team is coming down to the final games of the regular season. As a coach, how do you prepare your team to be playing its best as they enter the postseason?
We've actually started, I think some teams taper off. We've started working a little bit harder in the gym, talking about eliminating some of our errors where we're just giving the other team free points, and we're actually penalizing the girls when they do so. And that wasn't something we did at the beginning of the year.
Right.
So I'm hoping in the long run that'll pay off.
Sweet. Well, thank you so much for talking to us today, Coach Smith. Good luck with the remainder of your season. I know everyone here at Luce is so excited to see where your team is heading this season. Thank you. We'll be right back with Coach Bridell.
Free people, endowed as our nation is with abundant physical.
Thanks for tuning in again to Flyer Nation. Now sitting down with me is Brett Bridell, head coach for Lewis's men's and women's tennis team. Welcome to the show, Coach Bridell.
Thanks, Lauren. Thanks for having me here.
You are currently in your 9th season at the helm of both the men's and women's team. Describe the climb that it took to get from where the programs were to where they are now.
The women's team was actually in pretty good shape when they came in. They were doing well. It was the men's team that had been struggling for years, and I think there was some discontent among some of the guys that were on the team. And so it's taken a little longer with the guys' side. It started kind of with the recruiting and trying to get people to buy into what we were going to try to do with the tennis program. And it's been getting better every year. We're not even close to where we want to be, but we're getting better every year.
Awesome. International recruiting obviously is the key to the Flyers' success. Talk about how international recruiting differs from more of the local side of recruiting.
Yeah, the obvious part is the logistics. The kids are coming from 5,000-6,000 miles from home, and so the whole recruiting process is a little more difficult than when they're local. But one of the biggest obstacles we've faced here in the last 4 or 5 years is one of the entrance exams for our international kids at Lewis, the TOEFL test, which has not been a good indicator for our kids' success anyway. our internationals are our best students, but that one's been a tough one for us. But other than that, it's really just more paperwork and things like that.
Right.
But they're just great to have here, and they offer so much for us besides just the tennis. So.
Okay. What are some of the hurdles you have to climb? You had both of your #1 doubles team advance to the USTA ITA National Small College Championships following the regional championships. So talk about that accomplishment and the growth of both doubles teams.
Yeah, on the women's side, that was an amazing accomplishment actually. Even though they're both very skilled players, they had played together maybe 4 times together before they made it to the national tournament. So in the regional, they played 1 tournament together. They played lousy actually, and so it's actually they got more comfortable with each other, and obviously they're skilled players, so that helped. But they've been getting better, and they did a great job down at the nationals working together. It was the best that they have played so far, and we can do a lot more. And on the men's side, again, a very new combination. I was a freshman in there with Mate, and so they've been working together, trying to figure out how to play together. And again, very good job. I don't think they had their best showing at the national tournament, but they did a great job at regionals, and they fought very hard at the national and played the best they could, but it wasn't their best tennis.
Okay. Where are we going with this?
The tennis court, Cindy.
Do I go with that question?
Go from the Jack Green.
Okay. Go now? Okay. The Jack Arimas Tennis Complex was resurfaced over the summer. What kind of difference does that make in practice or even recruiting?
Before it was just, it didn't look good. There was huge cracks in the court. The nets weren't the right height. And there's nothing we could do about it. The concrete was pushed up from the bottom, and so it was just not a good situation. We had recruits trip and fall when they were there playing, and so it was just a really bad situation. But they're beautiful and they play nice, and I think we haven't had any recruits here since the courts have been redone, but it certainly isn't going to hurt. The courts are legitimate courts, and so they play awesome, so it's awesome.
Great. Lewis is hosting the 2016 Great Lakes Valley Conference tennis tournaments. How helpful is it to play on your own courts?
We get to stay in our own routine. We have to travel on the road and drive for hours and be in hotels, so we're in our normal routine, and so that's the part I think is going to help. And then we'll have our own fan base here to cheer us on, and so those are the 2 big things.
Yeah, well, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for taking the time to chat with us today. We can't wait for your season to kick off in the spring.
Thank you, Lauren.
Thanks.
So they say it's a man's world? I don't see anybody's name on it.
While they were doing their thing, we slowly changed all that.
Today, women can do anything men can do. And there's one thing we're even better at.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
Well, that's it for this week's episode of Flyer Nation. Keep watching for all things and everything Lewis University sports. We'll see you next week, only here on LUTN.